Welcome. I'm Dr. Samara Rasmussen, and I'm the Dissertation Writing Specialist with the Online College Writing Center. My role is to review dissertation proposal chapters and dissertation chapters for the Chicago School of Professional Psychology students. I'm also a full-time senior project manager working in state government, and prior to my current roles, I worked as the director of admissions for a graduate school, and part of my job was supporting students working on their doctoral papers. Through these experiences and in my current role in project management, I have learned and I continue to learn about APA-style academic writing and how to manage large, complex projects. The purpose of this webinar is to introduce you to a way of thinking about writing your dissertation, thinking about your dissertation as a project with different parts and the ultimate deliverable, which is your complete and approved dissertation. Thank you for participating today. I hope you'll ask lots of questions, and please feel free to reach out to me in the Online College Writing Center. I will be sharing my contact details at the end of this webinar. Please know that we are recording this session, and that recording will be made available as well. So let's get started. First, let's discuss what a project is and how a project might look in the academic world. And a project in general is a defined activity with defined deliverables and has an overall beginning, middle, and end. Your dissertation is a project. It is a research study with a paper that describes the study, results, and recommendations. And when it's broken down, hopefully that doesn't sound so bad or overwhelming or huge. So what are the deliverables of a dissertation? There's the proposal, which is the framework of the research and a hypothesis about what the final paper, the final dissertation will say. A dissertation is a research study, and that is a deliverable of the dissertation project, and that is the collection of data that you will analyze for meaning related to your research questions. A deliverable of the dissertation project is a paper. This paper tells a story to the reader of a problem, how that data was collected to look at the problem, and how that data offers some insight into the problem. At the beginning of the dissertation project, and really any project, there are a lot of questions and a lot of motivation to find answers. In the middle of the project, there may be fewer questions and somewhat less motivation to find answers. And at the end of the dissertation project, there may be some answers and there may be motivation just to be done. So know that your dissertation project will come to an end. The question is, what will you learn along the way and what level of effort will it take for you to complete your project? To manage your time, costs, and resources, it may be helpful to come up with a plan to follow to complete your dissertation. So think about this. Would you try to build a house without a plan? Would you consult experts for help to create your plan? Would you consult experts for help to support any work you might do on your house? Why would you try to write a dissertation without a plan? The Chicago School of Professional Psychology offers many resources to support your efforts, both with your dissertation plan and your project and the actual dissertation. Use them. The Online Campus Writing Center can help specifically with dissertation writing, academic writing, and giving you feedback on APA style and formatting. There are methodology experts within TCSPP who can help ensure that the methods that you're using to collect your data are sound, evidence-based, and appropriate for your study. Your dissertation chair. Your chair is your most important guide and resource through this project. They have experience, they have expectations, and they have advice. Your dissertation project plan can help you see how to manage all your responsibilities and continue to produce your manuscript. After all, you won't stop living, working, being with family, being with friends, or really any other activities, will you? So take the time rather to draft out a list of things you need to maintain as you work through your education and your dissertation. Then consider the items or resources you will need to accomplish for your dissertation. So what might those be? So first, let's consider a schedule for your project. Writing a dissertation takes time for different activities. You need time to research, you need time to organize, take notes, create outlines. You need time to do the actual writing. You need time to revise the writing and edit and proof. You need time to reflect on your writing, on your research, on your work, on your newfound experience and newfound education. And taking the time to stop and consider the feedback that you've been receiving throughout this project. Some will be instrumental to your efforts and some may not be beneficial, but reflecting on feedback as emotionlessly as possible may help you learn and grow in this process rather than creating setbacks. Then you want to take more time to edit and proofread your work. So what are some potential costs of your project that might be worthwhile to consider? Some costs might be in time or giving up a favorite activity for the short term. Other costs might be in actual dollars. Considering in the early stages what you might need to change or invest in for your personal life to accommodate your dissertation work might help you develop a clear path and plan for your success. So think about how to account for potential costs of completing this project. What resources will you need for success in your dissertation project? What will you need time to do? You're going to need time, and time is probably one of your main resources. You're going to need time to read, to research, to write, to have meetings, and to reflect, to gather feedback, to gather data, to write, to get feedback, and keep going. But time is a major resource in the dissertation project. You may need, as a resource, a place to conduct your reading and do your writing. You're going to need people as resources to interview, to review your work, to offer feedback. You're going to need places to collect your data, your study site, a library or libraries, different organizations where you might be collecting data. You're going to need computers. These are all resources that you might need to complete your work. So when you're thinking about your project, you think about the time you need, the places you need, the tools that you need to complete the project successfully. So I mentioned at the beginning that there are several deliverables in the course of the project to deliver a final dissertation. One of those deliverables might be a schedule that you can use to help guide your progress. Your chair might even require you to submit a project timeline, so you want to work with your chair to develop a realistic, actionable, achievable timeline and adhere to it to help both you and your chair and committee track your progress. Small goals along the way help lead to the bigger goal. You're going to want to create a clear set of deliverables for which you are accountable. You're going to want to create a set of goals which, when added together, sum up to a completed manuscript. So what other results or deliverables might you get from a dissertation project plan? If the final paper is a dissertation project deliverable, consider how you will know you are done. Certainly approvals from your chair, committee, institutional review board, and are good indicators something is done. So those approvals are milestones along your path. So consider what success looks like can help you to define your deliverables and your goals. So now that we've talked about a different way of approaching the dissertation instead of this massive paper that you're trying to get done, you might want to consider your mindset about this project. You chose to participate in this seminar because likely you had questions about how to complete a dissertation. You might be worried that this is such a gigantic paper, how could you ever finish? You might have specific logistical questions about collecting your data. There is no doubt this is an impressive undertaking. Remember, not everyone earns a doctoral degree. Most people don't even try. Some people don't complete it, but you will. Why? What's the difference? Because you're here and you're trying to learn something new. So let's talk about mindset. In 2006, Carol Dweck published her book, Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. Her theory is that there are generally two mindsets behind how people learn and complete tasks. There is a fixed mindset, which is based on the theory that our traits are fixed and we cannot change them. We only have so much intelligence, so much artistic talent, and so forth. We can't draw now, then we must not be able to draw at all. Dweck describes the growth mindset, which is based on the theory that a person with enough motivation and effort can learn, improve, and change something. By practicing, getting feedback, acting on feedback, and putting in effort, someone can improve their drawing abilities. These are very general examples, and I encourage you to read the book if you want to learn more. So for our purposes and to focus on the dissertation project, I have seen through my own experience writing my dissertation and in working with many, many doctoral students that one's mindset has a direct impact on one's ability to complete the dissertation project. So consider the feedback one might give oneself via a fixed mindset. I'm not smart enough. I can't do that. Why do I keep getting all this feedback? Isn't my work good enough? In these cases, we can see the feedback is certainly negative, but the comments are also finite. That is, there's no other option here except basically no. These comments are fixed, and for this person, there is no other way to consider their circumstances other than in a way that means this person cannot do anything else. Does this make sense to you? Do you think like this? Does this thinking help you in any way? So let's consider how someone with a growth mindset might consider a similar situation regarding feedback on some portion of dissertation writing. This is going to take a lot of work, but it will be worth it. I really hope I get some useful feedback because I want to make my manuscript better. And I know writing a dissertation takes a lot of effort. It's not easy, but there's a lot to learn and I can get this done. So how are these internal feedback comments different from those in a fixed mindset? Generally, these are more positive comments. However, they are also more forward-minded and growth-minded. There is an element of the future in these comments. There is an acknowledgement that the current situation is challenging, but with some tenacity and hard work, things will get easier. So if we stop to consider both feedback sets, which one do you think might be more helpful in writing a dissertation? Let's think a little bit more about how we can rethink to help support our efforts. Sometimes it's true that traffic might make you late for an appointment. The fixed mindset would blame the traffic, while a growth mindset might help find a solution or an alternative view. Perhaps if I had left earlier, I would have been on time. I will go a different way next time to avoid that intersection. Changing the focus of the blame as well as removing the blame can help us continue moving toward a goal rather than getting stuck. Here's another graphic which might help demonstrate the difference between a fixed and growth mindset. In the fixed mindset, the control of the situation is outside of the self. The traffic got in my way. There is a greater fear of failure and of the failure being the end of something. In the growth mindset, we see the control coming back to the self. I can do something different to change the outcome. There is a fear of being found out or proved to be lacking in some way. Also, thinking one is the only person with a particular problem or fear. You may have heard this called imposter syndrome. An unwillingness to be vulnerable, admit mistakes, ask for help, or consult with others may keep you from success. I can share that this is something I work on every day, and when it's at its worst, I am completely unable to move forward. But there is another way. You can change your mind. If the fixed mindset comments felt more natural to you, or you are feeling frustrated about progress on your dissertation, take a moment and focus on one of the growth mindset comments. Really repeat it to yourself and pay attention to how you physically feel. While you may or may not notice a difference right now in our short experiment, if you try to change your mind over the coming days and months, you may start to feel something different. You may feel different about your work, the outcomes, and your ability to meet this challenge. The key to changing your mind about your ability to complete this dissertation project is to consider that you haven't written a dissertation yet. Yet is the key to the growth mindset. You simply haven't written your dissertation yet. You may have written a chapter. Good for you. You may have written an exceptionally good section or even an amazing paragraph. That is the effort necessary to complete the entire dissertation. You can do this. Now that you have a way to change your mind about your dissertation project, let's work on setting some goals to further help you on your way. You may be familiar with the SMART goal setting process. SMART is a mnemonic device to help you remember the parts of a goal. So be SMART. Specific, measurable, actionable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. For the dissertation project, let's consider a possible project goal that supports a project deliverable. How about chapter 1? This might be a goal for my project, which would move my project forward. How can I frame this goal into a SMART goal? I will complete a draft of a complete chapter 1 by August 31st, 2020. This is specific. A draft of chapter 1 is a specific and identifiable component of the dissertation. It's measurable. I will either have a draft or I won't. This is achievable. I can certainly complete a draft of a chapter because I'm a doctoral student who has practiced academic writing and wants to continue practicing this skill. This is relevant. Producing a draft of chapter 1 is certainly relevant to my overall goal of completing my dissertation. This is time-bound. I have given myself a deadline to complete this specific goal. By following this approach, I can determine the time, effort, and outcomes of my dissertation work and then include appropriate goals along the way to help support my project. Do you see any downsides to trying this approach? We can also consider that this goal of a draft of chapter 1 might still be too large. So can we break this down into smaller goal or goals? An example of this might be, I will complete a draft of the introduction to chapter 1 by May 31st, 2020. This is specific. A draft of the introduction section is a specific and identifiable component. It is measurable. I will either draft the section or I won't. It's achievable. I can draft the introduction because I have an idea for what I want to say, and this is a draft which I can revise. And it's relevant because producing a draft of the introduction is something relevant to my goal of a draft of chapter 1. And it's time bound. I have given myself 2 weeks to complete, or guess not 2 weeks, 2 months to complete this specific goal. So what ideas might you have for breaking down a chapter goal into smaller goals? Do you think it might create some momentum toward the chapter draft if you set goals for each section? Specifically, setting goals supports the overall theory here that the dissertation is a project. Remember, a project has a beginning, middle, and end, and along the way, we achieve different goals or deliverables, which will ultimately complete the project. So completing our defined goal of a draft of chapter 1 or the goal of a draft of the introduction means we now need to seek some feedback. Why? Because writing a dissertation does not happen without collaboration, feedback, processing, and growth. You will be collaborating with your chairperson, your committee, your research subjects, and a host of other support people. After putting in so much effort to create my draft, I need to find out how I'm doing, if I'm on the right track, and what I need to do to create the strongest possible chapter 1. Okay, so I've gotten my feedback. Now, I'm about to suggest the 4 stages of feedback in dissertation writing. Submitting one's work for review is a great act of courage. We don't know what's going to happen, and we've been working really hard. What if they hate it? What if they love it? What if it's obvious I don't know what I'm doing? There are many thoughts we could have when we submit writing for feedback. So let's think back, however, about the growth mindset and see if there's some comfort there. I hope I get useful feedback so I can make my manuscript better. Okay, so what are the 4 stages of dissertation feedback? I suggest they are shock, time, reflection, and project plan. So there are many reasons why one could be shocked by feedback. You might get a lot of feedback. You worked so hard, but it seems like you did everything wrong. You might not get any feedback. You worked so hard. Did they even read my work and have something to say? You might get nothing but good feedback. Well, that doesn't make sense. This is supposed to be hard. You might get approved to move to the next chapter, phase, or deliverable. What? I can move on? What do I do now? Often it seems like we prepare for the feedback we think we're most likely to receive, and it's most like the feedback directly connected to our mindset. A fixed mindset person might simply assume all feedback will be negative. A growth mindset person might assume they'll get a lot of feedback. The overall point here is that you will get feedback and it will likely surprise you. How you contend with that feedback will have some impact on what you do next. So time. I suggest taking some time to absorb whatever feedback you receive and consider how you reacted to it initially. You might want to take a day, a week, a month, or even a year before you do anything. Remember, though there may be some limit on how long you have to complete your dissertation, you do have time. It is a rare person who receives feedback and simply returns to work, manages their feedback, and carries on. So reflection. In addition to taking some time, it may be helpful to consider your reaction to any feedback you received. Self-reflection may tie directly to one's mindset. So for example, I expected to receive negative feedback. They clearly hate my work. I should quit this now. Example, I'm interested in the feedback because I want to make changes or try something different. If you can take some time to consider your reaction to feedback to reflect, you might be able to reframe your thinking into more effective support for yourself. Asking for a second opinion is also a useful exercise. Consider that you have been working so hard on your manuscript and now you've gotten feedback from one source. Think about having someone else take a look and then comparing the feedback. Do you suppose that more than one data point might be useful in analysis? It would for your actual research, so why wouldn't it for feedback? The project plan then, sometimes having a plan is a great place to return, regroup, and reorganize. The plan that you created at the beginning of your work might help you orient yourself in context so you can determine the next step in your journey. So where am I in my plan? What needs to happen next? Has anything really changed? These are questions you can ask yourself to ground you, reflect, and pursue the feedback you've received and get yourself back to work. At some point in your dissertation project, you may feel like you're not moving forward or something has changed. This feeling may occur more than once. So here are some tips you can try to switch things up or refocus. Read your manuscript out loud. This is the single best trick for finding fixes before your editors do. You will also get a completely different perspective on your writing. Have someone else read your manuscript to you. You will not believe what you hear. Go to sleep. Taking care of yourself is paramount in the dissertation project. You still haven't stopped being a student, a teacher, a mother, father, spouse, partner, sister, brother, son, daughter, employee, employer, piano player, triathlete, swimmer, soccer player, or anything else you are. You still need to sleep, to eat, to play, to laugh, to cry. Don't get so deep in your work that you forget everything else. Exercise. Taking care of your body takes care of your mind. Go for a walk, get outside, do some jumping jacks. Just move your body so you can move your mind. Review, revise, and update the project plan. Doesn't it feel good to check off things you've accomplished? Wouldn't it feel good to change your timeline when you have one more round of revisions to complete before submitting to IRB? Again, this planning activity can help your mind and body as much as it will your dissertation. So you can do it. You will write an entire dissertation. You can work your plan, you can change your mind, you will work hard, you will put in the effort, you will do it. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I really enjoyed sharing some ideas for managing this large project. Please ask questions in the question area or send a chat. I would love to continue working with you and supporting your effort. You can reach out to me in the Online Campus Writing Center, and I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.